Live with the Miami News Community News, and my name is Michael Miller, and our guest today is Lieutenant Keely Martin, the U.S. Navy. Lieutenant, thank you very much for being here.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about ladies, women being in the U.S. Navy. What caused you to one day say, I want to go do that?
I never saw being a woman as necessarily being a boundary at all to me. I made goals when I was a child and I followed through with them. So when it came to being in the military, ultimately I had a passion for service all throughout high school, all throughout my childhood. My parents made sure that community service was very much imbued throughout my childhood. So when it came time for me to choose a college, it was more so a matter of I got the opportunity to serve and I got the opportunity to go to college through the U.S. Naval Academy. And it never really stopped me or really crossed my mind that just because I am female, I have a boundary. And I've never really experienced any sort of discrimination because I am female. I have made a goal for myself. I have followed through with it. And of course, the Navy's come leaps and bounds since the past and has made great strides towards that.
This is the beginning of the part of the show when a lot of people tune in right about now. For years, decades, and maybe 100 or plus years, women either were or felt as though that they couldn't get past that glass ceiling. So there are a lot of people in front of you that opened that door, but you stepped through it. For the young woman that's out there that's looking forward and thinks that there are limits on her because of her mentality or her friends or her parents about achieving success, what advice could you give the young lady?
Absolutely. Mainly it's choosing a goal, being passionate about pursuing that goal, and following through. Don't think that just because you are female, you have that boundary. Just because you are female, that people think you have that boundary. It's being able to think more of yourself, even if others may not believe that.
It's wonderful. So there's some young lady that hopefully just listened to that can make a difference. You decided to become a meteorologist.
Correct.
Tell us about that journey.
So I had a little bit of a unique journey in when I got to the Naval Academy. I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I kind of just went into the academy with a very open mind. Eventually, we choose our major after our freshman or plebe year while at the academy. So I settled on oceanography as my career path. It was very sciencey. I was already very much into the science. I like a lot of the math classes, and it threw a little bit of logic in there. And I took our oceanography major is very unique in that it's about 50% oceanography, 50% meteorology classes. So the overarching title is oceanography, but it's kind of a half and half.
So what does a Navy meteorologist, it goes by another name, all right?
Right.
What is the name again?
So the METOC, meteorology, oceanography, just kind of mooshed together.
So what does a meteorologist who's in the Navy do, and specifically what do you do?
Right, so Navy Oceanography is kind of just our general title. Naval Oceanography is responsible for the analyzing the environment all the way from the bottom of the ocean to the stars. So the bottom of the ocean might be some sediment coring and determining the bottom type, all the way to ocean analysis. We might take samples of the ocean to determine how sound moves throughout our ocean, to ocean current forecasting. We also do all sorts of weather forecasting, so I like to say anything the local meteorologist can do, we can do better, all the way to the stars. So,
and how important is it to determine what the ground is comprised of?
Very. So the ground is actually very important in determining how sound moves, so primarily how sound bounces off of the bottom.
And why is that important to the Navy and for national security?
Primarily for submarine navigation communications.
So you can tell, you've been on a lot of ships.
Fair bit.
We have some pictures of you. One of them is on a ship. Can we put some of those pictures up? Oh, this is a good one. Tell us about this.
So this one, I actually got the opportunity to go storm chasing through the United States Naval Academy in a program called SWIFT. So this one is in front of a supercell in my second year storm chasing. I want to say it's in North Texas, not exactly certain. It was a long time ago. But this is in front of one of my favorite supercells. A friend of mine got a really, really great photo of this entire setup.
So what is it like for your body and your mind when you're chasing a cell like this?
It's extremely thrilling. So it's a little bit of a delayed thrill, but it's very scientific. We start out the day at about 8 a.m. with a weather brief about what we expect the environment to look like, what the environmental setup is. We choose a target area, approximately where we think the best tornadoes specifically will be. We drive to that target area and we basically see what happens, follow the storms as we need to, chase them as we need to, and basically just see what the environment does, see how our prediction plays out, and then which variables were good, which variables were bad, and how that affects the environment.
There was a great movie, I forget the name of it, where it was about storm chasers. Remember that movie?
I do.
All right. And so whenever I see that, I get like, it's neat. It's like, it seems to be crazy, but there are a lot of storm chasers. When they chase them, what did you and the U.S. Navy, and what do other storm chasers look for?
Other storm chasers look for we call them discrete storms, so storms that are kind of outside of the more compacted, lined out storms. So discrete photogenic storms are really what we look for.
And some of the greatest pictures are of storms.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially when they're threatening and that funnel is about to touch down.
Yes.
Let's go to the next picture. And who is that right there?
That is me. I am on the flight deck of the USS John C. Stennis, a carrier. So this was during my training cruise after my freshman or plebe year, coming into my sophomore, or we call it our youngster year. I got the opportunity to sail with the Stennis for the Rim of the Pacific exercise in 2016. And this is an F-18 taking off from the flight deck.
So, Lieutenant, when they land, do you hold your breath and say, I hope that third one works?
Most certainly. So you always want to make sure that your pilots are safe. You hope that everything happens safely with no nicks in it or anything like that.
Okay. Let's go to the next. Tell us about this.
So this was my promotion to lieutenant junior grade during my 2021 deployment on USS Iwo Jima, an amphibious class landing dock, with some of my peers.
And how many people were on members? Referred to them as members?
Service members.
How many service members were on the ship?
On this ship, there were about 3,500, I want to say.
That's amazing. And this deployment, typical deployment, is about how long?
Our deployment was 7 months.
You were on sea for 7 months?
I was at sea for 7 months.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, this is the best shot of all.
So this is at the United States Naval Academy after our freshman year. There's a culminating event that we call sea trials. We wake up very, very early in the morning, sometime around 2 or 3 a.m., and go until about 5 p.m. It's various events. We do our obstacle course, we do our endurance course. This one in particular was a station called Wet and Sandy, which, as you can see, it's both. But the helmet doesn't exactly fit my head, but it's still one of my favorite photos.
So, Lieutenant, tell us about the opportunities available to people in the U.S. Navy and in the service.
Of course. So I was fortunate enough to attend the United States Naval Academy, graduate of 2019, proud graduate. And through the Naval Academy, I got the opportunity to enter into a career of service, which I am extremely proud to have done. But I also got the opportunity to have a 4-year degree at a very high level of education. I have a degree in oceanography with honors. I also got the opportunity to conduct some independent research while at the academy, so that really tickled my scientific side. But all in all, through the Navy, I got an education. I got the opportunity to serve with some absolutely fabulous people who have the same passion for service that I do.
And for so long, men would say, oh, the weather lady. And I'm sure you've heard that term. I don't think it's as often as it used to be when different people were in charge. So when a young person decides to go into a career, they need to make sure that the education they get has a great stamp on it so that it opens some doors. So tell us about the opportunities that have come to you now that you've graduated and you have your degree and you're a meteorologist. Tell us about some things that you would like to do that may be in your future in the Navy.
So especially when it comes to naval oceanography, I have the opportunity to attend the Naval Postgraduate School, where I could attain a master's degree in both operational meteorology and oceanography, which I am very much looking forward to doing, and eventually go on to work with other aerographers mates, other sailors who have the same passion that I do for the scientific side of the Navy, and being able to interpret our battle space to better understand our environment and how it affects our operations.
Have you always been like this? clear, distinct, passionate.
Yes.
Right? I see about this big. Well, I'm Dad. Come here. I want to tell you something. So, what does the educational process look like for somebody that's in the service?
So in the service, our aerographers mates, after they go to boot camp, they attend a school at Keesler Air Force Base where they learn the basics about forecasting, meteorology, and oceanography. After they finish it's usually a operational sea tour of some variety, but they'll attend sea school, which they'll get a more intensive advanced forecasting, better understanding the weather. For my side, the officer side, we get a 4-year degree in some sort of geoscience, physical science, mathematics. We have a very, very wide range of ologies and mathematics and computer science and such. Then we go to an 8-week basic oceanography accession training, which is the basics of meteorology, oceanography, not as intensive, but at least understanding the logical processes that go through it.
And your colleagues that do what you do, what percent are male, what percent are female?
Ooh.
More or less.
The oceanography community is actually really unique in that we have a very high percentage of female sailors, at least from what I've seen. But in general, we follow the Navy pattern of approximately 20% female.
And how many people that do what you do were on that ship when you were there?
Ooh. So while I was on that ship, I was actually in a different designator called a surface warfare officer. So I was responsible for driving the ship, managing the navigational picture in the ship's operations, and I also managed the engineering division. Shout out to A Gang and Assault out there. But I didn't interact as much with our strike group oceanography team, our ESCOT, who was on board, but that's 13 sailors were on board specifically doing meteorology and oceanography for our entire strike group.
When that ship is out there, what are some of the things they're looking for and why are they out there?
A lot of the things, so it's really interpreting the battle space and being able to provide a recommendation to the commander and other mission planners to best advise how the mission should be shaped, whether it be a date change, whether it be a slight location change, whether it be you might have some mild impacts, but we still should be able to accomplish the mission. Otherwise, it's just out there to see something cool.
So there are around 300,000 people, service members that are there, and it's a whole range of ages. A big percentage of us, looking up the information, have 4-year degrees and advanced degrees.
Absolutely.
That's a tribute to the service that gets people to understand the importance of an education.
Yes.
Now, when did you grow up in Midland, Texas?
I grew up, born and raised in Midland, Texas.
Where more or less is Midland, Texas?
Midland, Texas it was named Midland because it is halfway on the cattle trail between El Paso and Fort Worth, so thus the Midland. But it is, we call it far west Texas, but it's at the far southwest portion of the Texas Panhandle.
And did you ride horses?
I did not.
What were some of your sports and activities that you were involved with?
Okay, my biggest one was swimming. I was a competitive swimmer all the way from elementary school up through high school. I also played piano. So I did a few competitions with piano. I also hold a black belt in Taekwondo.
Oh my gosh.
I'm also a proud member of the Midland debate team.
Amazing. You're an amazing human being. It's like there's another surprise around the corner. Your parents must be very proud of you.
Oh, absolutely.
And tell us about your siblings.
So my siblings, I have 2 older brothers. One of them is in South Carolina. He is a personnel analyst. The other one is in North Dakota. He just finished up service in the Air Force and is now entering the National Guard.
That's wonderful. So we're in Miami, in case folks didn't know. What are you doing today here in Miami? Right.
So I am a part of Navy Week Miami. It is providing our American people a view into what we do as our American Navy. I am here, especially, I very heavily volunteered because I actually have a grandmother down in Fort Lauderdale who I got the opportunity to visit.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So that event is going to take place. When does that take place? Now. When is this week?
Yes.
The 23rd, yesterday, I think.
Correct.
For another week or so. So tell us about what that event is going to look like for the person who wants to go visit it.
Right. So Navy Week Miami, we have a bunch of events going on. We're out visiting schools. We're out doing volunteer outreach opportunities. The band is out playing. Yesterday, we were able to invite 4 brand new recruits into our Navy. Very proud of them.
Say that again?
4 brand new recruits.
They showed up?
They got sworn in yesterday into our United States Navy.
Wow.
Yes.
Do you think that's because of that event that took place that they came over?
No, they had already been recruited. This was
Mhm.
just kind of their culmination. This was
Yes.
them raising their right hand and swearing into the Navy.
That's wonderful to do that.
Absolutely.
So, again, let's talk about opportunities for people
Mhm.
that could join the service. What are some of the things that are available for somebody that says, I don't know what I want to do, but here's the armed services, and here's some things that could happen?
Right. So, talking to a bunch of my sailors back on my ship, I got a very good purview into their life and their mindset and such. And while a lot of them were like, oh, I didn't really know what to do after high school, it provided an opportunity to learn technical skills towards a real world job. Even beyond that, it opened up the opportunity of education for them to achieve a 4-year education, get a degree, get a job, go to tech school, but really open them up to the opportunities of real world experience.
So somebody right out of high school, they could join. In 4 or 5 years, they can have a degree,
Yes.
learn a skill or more, and travel.
Absolutely. So we always like to pride ourselves that even the newest recruit, some 18-year-old baby face fresh out of high school, is able to take the ship's helm in hand and actually drive a billion-dollar, several-ton warship.
You think they're texting mom, hey, Mom, I was trying.
Mom, look what I did today. Absolutely.
That's wonderful. So, again, so tell us about when you had the storm chasing internship, how that happened and what it was like for you.
So storm chasing to me is absolutely near and dear to my heart. I had an absolutely great time with my instructors. It was the Naval Academy offers some of the best internships through oceanography. I'm convinced that oceanography has the best internships. And one of them was storm chasing. And I was looking at the list of available internships for my summer, and while I could have gone on another summer cruise on, we call them yard patrol craft, it's basically just a small ship that we might sail up to from Annapolis to New York or Boston and spend a few days there. I wanted the opportunity to further my development in my meteorological and oceanographic career field. And I knew that I wanted to do an internship. And looking at the list, I said, this one sounds the most interesting. It sounds absolutely thrilling. It sounds like real-world operational experience. And that's exactly what it was. It was being able to make a decision and scientifically explain that decision either hours in advance or even just on the spot.
So when you're watching the likely path of a storm,
Mm-hmm.
and you go there and you wait and it happens, you go, yes, we got it right?
Oh, yes.
It must be a thrill to do that.
Oh, it's most certainly.
And tell us about the team that you were working with then.
So I was working with a group of my peers and 2 instructors. I was working with Professor Barrett, who was actually my research instructor at the time as well, and Lieutenant Commander Burek. So the 2 of them took us around, and they were our oversight. They were our scientific expertise. So while the students ultimately would present the information and make the decision, a lot of it was, all right, let's step back. Why do you think that? And of course, lead us towards the logical decision. Maybe explain, hey, let's choose a little bit of a safer option. So also helping to make sure that we were chasing safely.
Let's talk about, there's a boot camp. Is that what it's
Yes.
referred to?
Yes.
Prior to boot camp, prior to you actually doing it, what were your thoughts about on how you were going to handle it and how you were going to do it?
So for me in particular, through the Naval Academy, we don't really have a boot camp, but we do have an indoctrination period we call plebe summer. For me, it was a matter of preparing very physically. I knew that the physical mission was probably one of my weaker areas. So it was a lot of running. Being a swimmer, I wasn't necessarily used to, I like to call them land sports, but I wasn't used to running so much. So it was a lot of running preparation. It was a lot of push-up preparation. And then it was a lot of mental preparation. So I did a lot of working out in a very short period of time because I knew that I had to establish that mental toughness to get through the physical pain.
So let's talk about the mental preparation that's accelerated by by doing the physical stuff because it gives you some confidence.
Absolutely.
But you still have to be receptive enough to say, I've done this and
Yes.
I'm tougher. What is that like?
We like to call plebe summer the most fun you never want to have again. And it certainly was fun. It was certainly very physically demanding, and I knew that I came out a much better person because of it, a much stronger person because of it, and it definitely more mentally tough, which fed into my deployment mindset of being able to keep going when I knew that my sailors needed me.
You're the real deal. This is you're an amazing person.
Thank you.
And your family's lucky that you're there, and you're lucky to have them. And the people with whom you work that are looking to you and say, look at her, I can be like that. So let's look down the road a couple of years. What do you want to be doing?
So I want to be continuing my career field in the METOC community, meteorology and oceanography. I want to get my information warfare qualification as a whole, so understanding METOC is a part of the greater information warfare community. And I want to be hopefully attending the Naval Postgraduate School to get my master's.
And when would that start from the education point?
I'm not sure yet. It depends on where it aligns in my career path, but I definitely hope to be continuing my career in the Navy.
If you got into that program, or when you do, how long is that program? And it sort of fits in between all your other stuff.
Yes, so Naval Postgraduate School is actually unique when it comes to the METOC officer because it is a requirement for us to continue. So it is meant to be a precursor to our 04 or Lieutenant Commander milestone, where it's 2.5 years, and afterwards you're expected to act as the meteorology and oceanography METOC officer for a strike group, directly influencing the commander and the commodore's decision-making when it comes to aligning the strike group and performing operations.
I understood a little bit part of it, but John's going to help me out after the show.
Right.
So what I would like you to do in a moment, because we have about 3 minutes left, is look into the camera and talk to some young people about the opportunities and about their potential future, right? So I just want you to think about it for 30 seconds, all right?
Okay.
In the meanwhile, I want to thank you for your service, and thank you for being here and for changing lives.
Absolutely.
All right, so you got, let's say 30 seconds. You can look right into the, are we on the camera there, Alex?
Blue or red?
The blue one.
Blue camera.
Hold on 1 second. We good? Okay, we're good. All right, talk away.
Okay. I just want to say that to anyone who's out there thinking that they want to be a naval officer or be in the Navy, don't forget your passion. My passion is everything to me, and being able to maintain that drive towards my passion, being able to set my goals to better meet what I want to be doing in the future.
Lieutenant Keely Martin from the U.S. Navy, thank you very much for your service to the world and to the country. Folks, thank you for joining us. Have a great day.